Hey guys, it's me, Steph. I'm back with another video. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about donor conception in China. It's definitely not something you hear about often. In fact, I only actually found one piece of literature and I found it by mistake, but I find it kind of fascinating. So in China, they have approximately 10 sperm banks, and the first was created in 1981. But the thing with China is that one of their top three religions is Confucianism. And Confucianism, one of their central principles is filial piety. And what that is it's the most important virtue, and it's a primary duty of respect, obedience, and care for one's parents and elderly family members. And genetics, passing on that family tie, that family name is very important to them. So it basically goes against everything that they believe. And because procreation is regarded as one of the most important aspects. However, one of the most unfilial things is to not be able to produce an offspring. So they definitely, find themselves between a rock and a hard place if you're an infertile couple in China. So there's been a lot of, ethics and ethical debate, has been going on for quite some time in regards to sperm banks in China. And like I said, the blood tie is one of the utmost concerns to a family. And duty of a male is to have a son to be able to pass your surname off to, and the wife's duty is to bear these children. And so the obvious fix is donor conception for them, but it goes against all their values at the same time because it severs the genetic link, which of course we all know that it's nothing new to us. But one thing that's really interesting is there's actually, Chinese scientists who are trying to basically rewrite Confucianism so that they can adapt it to modern culture. And they try to make the whole, nurture versus nature, argument. But we all know how that is. I call bullshit on that. But in China, there's not, like I said, there's not a whole lot of literature on this topic because, it's a communist country and government has a lot of control over what goes in and what goes out, with the exception of Hong Kong, and there's like one other city that they basically, have their own governments. But so, like I said, 1981, first sperm bank was built, and basically they had no safety measures, there was no testing for genetic diseases, none of that. So, there was a lot of serious health risks for the kids involved. So then in June of 2007, the health ministry came in and they shut down all but 10, and they're spread throughout the country. Now, like we hear about in a lot of other countries, they suffer from shortages of donors. So they only have enough, I think this is a large amount, but they can only help 2,000 couples a year, but apparently they have 5,000 couples that are in need. Another thing, the majority of donors they're medical students, nothing new there. But what they tell the donors to recruit them is they tell them it's like donating blood, and it's actually a virtue to help people, so they should do the right thing and help families out. And it just goes back to all those Confucianism values. So they have two regulations they go by. Donors should be between the ages of 22 and 45, and they have to be healthy, and they can only donate to one sperm bank and up to 5 women. So they do try to mitigate the risks of children accidentally marrying their brother or their sister. Now, what I found interesting was like the couple that is seeking the the donor conception treatment, they're supposed to actually go through like a pretty rigorous medical examination. And this is because they want to see like if there's any diseases that may interfere with them being parents, which I kind of found interesting because the whole reason that my parents couldn't conceive was because my dad was a diabetic and he did eventually die when I was 13. So I kind of, it's kind of a, not that I would change anything, but I it was really tough to have to go through that. But I was reading further about China, but they don't really enforce it. But it's a good idea. But another interesting thing was they actually have illegal sperm banks, and so then that puts that risk back out there for you potentially marrying your brother or your sister. Which illegal sperm banks, it's another concept that's not new to any of us either. But they do hold, secrecy. That there's a big debate over. It's the same stuff like that we hear in the West. Secrecy and anonymity versus the right to know. So there's nothing really new there. They do, or they're supposed to. Anyway, they're like supposed to like track the kids. So these kids don't even know they're donor conceived because everybody's tight-lipped. It's a really big deal for if in-laws or family members find out that these supposed relatives are donor conceived. There was a story, 1984, this woman had a baby, and the son looked so different than the dad at 11 days old that they had no choice. They had to disclose the fact that he was donor conceived. And the woman and the child were completely expelled from the family to the point where like she had to go to court and seek protection. It's serious. It's really serious. But they have the same laws. There's a lot of similarities. But they stress that procreation is it's considered a tie that strengthens marriage. So just like in the early days of artificial insemination, where it was almost considered to be an adulterous act because you have, a woman that's carrying another man's child genetically, it's a big deal. Like they think of it like that, even today. And adultery by itself is an extremely shameful, act. And if the couple ends up getting divorced and the wife didn't have a consent form signed by her husband at the time that she received the treatment, he can legally reject the child. I thought that was another thing that was better. But one thing they do is they provide that medical history. So we know, like at least in the United States, that for the majority of people they don't get the medical history. But it's definitely one thing that they do that's right. They have to keep detailed records, and whereas some sperm banks only are required to maintain information for a total of 10 years, they're required by the government to keep records, indefinitely. And kids, like it's just so crazy to me because it's like such a big secret. But yet when a child turns 21, regardless if they know they're donor conceived or not, they can like go and request information to see if they're donor conceived. So I thought that was kind of fun. And they only do sperm donation and no egg donations or embryo donations, and it's only couples because they hold marriage in such a high regard that having a single mother by choice basically violates these family values. Single mothers they're considered to be inferior, and it's just morally wrong, and they're a burden to society. And typically the only reason there would be a single mother would be because of divorce or some type of death in the family, or other tragedy. But and overall, to be a single mother, that's considered like one of the utmost tragedies. So yeah, so in 1999, they had a celebrity sperm bank. So that completely reminds me of the repository for germinal choice. They had a bunch of doctors and people that had doctorate degrees, and it's just all about eugenics and all that stuff. So it's a lot of it is very, very similar. But I just would when I found this article, and when I was looking for research material, I just thought it was really, really fascinating, because you don't ever think about it. You don't ever think about China having a sperm bank, especially you know they had that one child policy rule. And it's a country that's already overpopulated. Like, people can't, most people don't have cars because there's too many people on the road as it is. It's just insane. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about, and I hope you enjoyed my video, and I'll see you next time.